Hey everybody, welcome to my show. I hope you're out there, and if you are, I won't mind if you send me some messages and texts and let me know that people are watching so I know that I'm doing this right. This is only my second show, and if you're here for my last show, fantastic. Nice to have you back again, and if you're here for my first show for the first time, I'm delighted that you're here, and thank you for letting me spend a little time with you this evening. I am coming to you from on location in Santa Monica, and as usual I've got my songs and stories to tell, and as you see at the top of the page there is a PayPal button. If you like the show, if you'd like to see me continue with a series of shows, please feel free to donate generously or however you can. I promise a portion of the proceeds will go to the MusiCares program, which helps musicians all over the world in times of distress such as now. And boy, a lot of my pals in Las Vegas are hurting for certain, so give generously and give often, as they say. Well, I hope there's enough of us in the room here to start the show with what my buddy Paul Schaefer described as a perfect opening song. And it goes like this. Hello, my friend. It's good to see you again. Guess it's been a few years since I've been away, but I'm happy to say I'm doing okay myself. I can dig what's happening, and every day there is something new. And hey, good things are coming my way. So tell me how you've been. There's so much you gotta tell me. Let's talk about them good old days when we'd laugh and say, hey, hey, man, you're okay. Let's take it nice and easy now. It's a brand new year. Lots of things are happening, and hey, good things are coming my way. So tell me how you've been. There's so much you gotta tell me. Let's talk about them good old days when we laugh and say, hey, hey, ain't life okay? That groove. Stick around for a couple of days, 'cause hey, good things are coming my way. Yeah, good things are coming my way. My way, our way, every day. My way. Alright, well that's a good way to start off a show, I think. Gosh, I wrote that song a long time ago. I was probably 18 years old, but I never got around to recording it until I went to the Philippines, which is where I was born. I'm the thriller from Manila and Beverly Hills. I went there in 78, 79 to go back to my homeland, and I recorded it at that time at, I remember it was at Sampaguita Studios in Metro Manila, and I had a kickin' band. I had a guy named Ding Dong Boogie on drums, and great lead guitarist Joey Puyat. I think I might have played bass, but I also played keyboards, and my cousin Cholo, Happy Louie, as he is known in his DJ world, he played percussion and gave me some hand claps. So that was a lot of fun, and you know, I just think it's a fun song to do. Great opener, as Paul Schaefer said. Anyway, let me take a little sip of my water. Someone wanted to know I was drinking last time. Last time it was little concoction of iced tea, lemonade, and a splash of sparkling soda. Now that sounds like an Arnold Palmer, but the splash of sparkling soda, you see, makes it, I call it the Billy Boy. That's the Billy Boy drink. So try it at home. You'll love it. My group, Dino, Desi, and Billy, had a pretty good run. We did 4 albums for Reprise. We actually did some songs for Columbia for a year, and then went back to Reprise and did some more recording. But along the way, as we got older and more mature and hit the ripe old age of 17, 18, we started writing our own material. Up to that point, we were doing covers or songs submitted to us by like Lee Hazelwood, our producer, and others. We had an opportunity to record Dean Martin, Dino's father. How about that? Pretty exciting. At that point, we were writing, publishing. We had a publishing company, Dino, Desi, and Billy Music, BMI, and also producing our own stuff. And we did all those things for Mr. Martin. He had an interesting way of prepping for a session. It was much like the way he prepped for his television show. We'd give him a tape of the songs, a demo, and he would listen to it in his car driving around. I guess he must have had an 8-track at that time. And anyway, he had a beautiful car. It was called a Dual Ghia, silver Dual Ghia. It's a beautiful Italian-made car, not a Carmen Ghia. Big difference. And I remember Mr. Sinatra had a black one. Just incredible looking car. Never really seen the likes of them since. This is late 60s. Anyway, he would learn these songs in the car, drive around, and then come to the studio. Now, normally he would have had the tracks, he'd record live, he'd sing the vocal live with an orchestra. But this time around with us, we cut the tracks, then we called him in. And unlike previous recording sessions, for him, we set up 2 speakers out in the studio, microphone right here, and he sang to the track. And I was assigned the job of sort of, I guess, musical director, even though we weren't calling one another musical directors at that time, but I had to come up with some songs for him to do. We had 2 originals that I wrote and Dino and I wrote, but then we needed 2 more for the 4 sides, A side, B side, A side, B side. So I thought that this song right here was a great tune that he could cover. Smokey Robinson's people say I'm the life of the party, 'cause I tell a joke or 2. Although I may be laughing loud and hearty, deep inside I'm blue. So take a good look at my face. You see my smile looks out of place. If you look closer, it's easy to trace the tracks of my tears. And you can still find that on YouTube to this day, but don't do that now. Stay with me. You can listen to the YouTube and watch Dean sing that song later. Another song that I picked was a song I found that Rick Nelson had done. It was called Down Home, written by Goffin and King, which was, of course, Jerry Goffin, Carole King, the husband and wife, prolific songwriting team. And the way Rick sang it was real straight ahead like this. Down home, down home, there used to be a river and stream. Well, what Dean would do was he would take the lyrics that were on a sheet, much like a musician would have the music chart. He would have the lyrics on a sheet of paper, on a proper, written sheet of paper, and he would go through it. He wore reading glasses, and he'd go through it with a pen, and he'd go through the lyrics. So he'd go like, down home, down, and he'd do a line above the word home. Home, he would, I like to call, Martinize it. And so he put his own inflections into the lyrics. He literally wrote them in onto the sheet as reference. So he'd go up, home, or down and up. You get the idea. So anyway, you can hear Down Home also on the YouTube, but stay with me now. I wrote this tune, Dino helped me out a little bit. This one was called Come On Down. It goes like this. My love, I want to see you again. It's been so long I can't remember when I held you in my arms, I kissed you and I told you that I care. But now I'm on the way home again. I can't wait to see you smile again, etc., etc. And yeah, that was an upbeat tune for him. And by the way, these were fully orchestrated. I mean, the Wrecking Crew are all over these tracks. I mean, you can hear them. I know. I swear I hear Carol Kay on this next song that I wrote for Dean and that we recorded. It's called "For the Love of a Woman," and it goes just like this. My hope is fading. Don't keep me waiting for the love of a woman. You know, it's been so long, I can't really hold on much longer. It's like moving a mountain. Believe me when I tell you that it's hard for them. But I'd be a fool to ask why. All for the love of a woman. Love of a woman. Love of a woman. All right. And that was a blast recording with Dean, let me tell you. He was a little bit out of sorts with Dino and I producing him, but you know, he was a good sport, and he went along with our nouveau, approach to recording. So, and once again, you can hear that on YouTube, but don't go, stay with me. Go look at it later. Well, this is the period of time when I started writing more and more, and it's the way this next song came about was this. When my sister Annie married Carl Wilson, all the Wilson boys and their wives would come over to my parents' home for dinner. I was still living at home, mind you. In '66, I'm 15, so I don't even think I had a driver's license. Anyway, and it was great. Carl and Annie would pull up in Carl's beautiful gunmetal gray Aston Martin DB5, and Dennis and Carol would pull up in this gorgeous red Ferrari Berlinetta Lusso. Wow, what a car. It was destined to be Sam Cooke's car, but Sam unfortunately didn't make it, so Dennis bought it from Hollywood Sports Car and made it his own. And Brian and Marilyn would pull up in either Brian's yellow Corvette or Marilyn's blue with white top Mustang, and they'd come to our home for dinner. And my mother was an incredible cook, and she would make these fabulous Filipino dishes, and they'd never had anything like it before. I mean, and Dennis Wilson still holds the record for consuming the most lumpia of anyone ever in one sitting. He ate 12 in one sitting. A lumpia is think of egg roll, and that's a Filipino egg roll. Anyway, they used to come over to the house, and my dad would, usually say to Brian at some point in the evening, when are you going to write a song for Dino, Desi, and Billy? And this went on for a while. And if we were to go to Brian's house for some occasion, eventually Pop would get around to saying to Brian, when are you going to write a song for Dino, Desi, and Billy? So one day, it was around 1970, Brian called me. And he said, you know, I've been working on something that might be right for you guys. Why don't you come over to the house and I'll play it for you? So I went right over there. Well, by 1970, I had a driver's license. I was all of, 19 at that time. And so I was ready to get on over there and hear this great new song. So, mind you, Brian lived in Bel Air in this beautiful home. It once belonged to the man that wrote the Tarzan series. And Edgar Rice Burroughs, I believe is the man's name, yeah. And but Brian had painted the house this purple color, and I mean not pale purple. I mean vivid, shocking, real loud purple, and it was really a sight to see. And at one point, he had to change the color of the house because he got a letter from the HOA saying, Mr. Wilson, you got to, change the color of the house to fit in with the scheme of Bel Air. Words to that effect. Signed, Gregory Peck, Alfred Hitchcock, and a number of other residents. So he painted it a very lovely yellow. And so I can't remember whether it was purple or yellow when I went over there, but Brian had several pianos, and this one was, you walk in the front door to the foyer, or some people like to call it the foyer, and you take a right, and he'd have an upright piano there in one of his living rooms, and he played this song for me. Oh, lady love, oh, lady love, oh, lady love, your love is somewhere. Tell me, after so long, why she's gone, why this pain in my heart still lingers on. No, she won't be back again. Lady love, your love is somewhere. Lady love, I'll find you one day. I'll hear your voice again, and then I'll be happy one more time. Oh, lady love, oh, lady love, oh, lady love, oh, lady love. Now, mind you, Brian had already written this many songs. I mean, this is 1970. He had already written all the great surf songs, the car songs, the Surfer Girls and the In My Room songs and the California Girls, and he was past the Pet Sounds era. So, my gosh, he had such a body of work, and the Beach Boys had such a catalog of incredible songs. So, I was, just so flattered that Brian would include me in this collaborative process. Truth be told, I didn't bring anything to the party musically, because Brian, after all, is the master. Or, as I said to him one day on the tour bus, I said, well, Brian, you're the master. He says, I'm one of them. And I just love that. Anyway, being the master that he was, I think I most likely contributed some lyrics here and there, And I like to say kiddingly that I crossed the T and dotted the I, and he split the writers with me, and he split the publishing with us, with Dino, Desi, and Billy, and Brother Publishing. So, wow. Continued thanks on that one, Brian. Incredible. So, I got to tell you a story. You know, I've had a chance to write with others. You know, I was in a writing session with Bill Withers a long time ago. And, you know, such a great writer. And he was working on Ain't no sunshine when she's gone. Ga-dun, ga-dun, ga-dun. Only darkness every day. Ain't no sunshine when she's gone. And he had like writer's block, and he just couldn't finish the rest of the song. And I took the opportunity to say, you know, Bill, you know, ain't no sunshine isn't quite exactly grammatically correct. It's not really the King's English, you know. And he said to me, I know. And there you have it. That is all fabrication, FYI, in case you hadn't figured that out. I'm going to take a little sippy poo of my water and then continue with my little tale here. Back in the early 80s, there was a period of time, a couple of years when I wasn't playing with the Beach Boys, and Carl Wilson decided he wanted to do something outside the Beach Boy world, and so he went solo. And I had the privilege of being asked to be in his band. I think I'm the only band member that's come down the pike here that's played with the Beach Boys, with the Brian Wilson band, with the Carl Wilson band, with Al Jardine's band, with Mike Love's solo band, and for the few times Dennis did his songs on stage, I played in his band. So, you know, I've covered the waterfront there as a band member. But I remember getting a call from Jerry Schilling, who was Carl's manager at the time. He also had managed Billy Joel. Billy had opened for the Beach Boys years ago. And I go to Jerry's office, and he tells me about the tour, and I said, yeah, you know, yeah, it sounds great. So he takes it, he's got a piece of paper on his desk, right? And he writes a number down on it, and he slides, face down, slides it over to me, and it's what I might pay, you know. And I look at it, and I was like, wow, fantastic, $1,500. That is great. I can't wait to do this tour. And he says, no, Billy, that's not for the tour. That's per week. And I said, oh, better yet. So I was very generous of Carl to pay me that way. And by the way, Carl went really low budge on that tour in the sense that he had never flown anything but first class. And for that tour, he flew coach. We, as the band, were in a rent-a-van with all our gear and luggage in the back, like a 14, 15 passenger seat van. We took out the back bench seat. And the second tour, we added a U-Haul, a trailer, and we thought we were living large, you know. But we got it done, and we had a great band, Carl's band. There was a man named Krieger, Alan Krieger on drums. He's played with Jafria and London and other groups. He's a great guy too. And the smoking hot lead guitarist and singer, John Daly, who I think is here tonight. So hello, John, back in the Philadelphia area. And on bass, we had a left-handed bass guitar player named Gerald Johnson, who played with Steve Miller and Crosby, Stills and Nash. And so Carl had a red-hot band, and Myrna Smith was his collaborator. She always traveled with Carl. So anyway, we went all over the place. This was in 1981. We started off in Chicago, and we went all up to Toronto, to El Macombo, where the Stones famously played, and we came down the Eastern Seaboard, New England, and Toad's place, I think my father's place, and down south to Poets, and off to San Francisco, and I mean we really covered the country, and we eventually opened for the Doobie Brothers for several tours. They liked Carl and us so much that contrary to what they normally did, which is they have one opening act and then see ya, they invited Carl back several times. Anyway, one show in particular that stood out, it was a couple of days there, was at the Bottom Line in New York City. It's not there anymore, but great little club. And it was a small venue, and Carl did not do a lot of Beach Boys songs. We did Long Promised Road. Like I say, not too many. It was because he's promoting his album. He's promoting his first album, Carl Wilson. And so we stuck to his original material, including this gorgeous song, which has kind of become one of his signature songs. It's like I'm sailing on the ocean. Every time I see your eyes, you could be the wind that keeps me floating. I could be in heaven for all I know. Heaven's the place for me to go. And so on. I remember at the end of one of the shows, I went out into the room and, was mingling a little bit. And this guy was leaving, and I saw him, and he was looking at me, and I was looking at him, and we're looking at each other. And he looked familiar. He was very striking looking, and he finally eventually came over and stuck out his hand and said, "Hi, Paul Stanley." So I said, "Oh, Paul Stanley." I had never seen Paul out of makeup from his group Kiss, so it was took me a little second there to put it all together. But I invited him backstage to see Carl, and they talked, and it was a beautiful thing. And anyway, that was a great tour. I have more stories about the Carl Wilson tour for some other segment. I hope you're enjoying yourselves here. I want to tell you about writing a song that Carl eventually did on his solo album called Youngblood. And what happened was he called me and said, "Do you want to come up to Caribou Ranch?" He was living on Jim Guercio's property at the time. Jim, of course, is an old friend from the Beachago days, Beach Boys Chicago tours. This was, of '75, which was still to this day the greatest tour of my life, the most fun. I mean, it was happening. Dennis was still with us, Terry Kath was still with us, and it was really incredible. Anyway, Jim helped put that together. Anyway, Carl was living up at Caribou, and I went up for a writing session, even though we never ended up collaborating on anything. I had a song that when Jim heard it, he said, "That's the one." And when Skunk Baxter heard it, because he was the producer for the album, he said, "Yep, that's the one." And Carl liked it, so we recorded it, and I'm going to play it for you right now. Somebody said, all things will pass, all things will pass away. But it seems kind of slow, and somehow I know I'm gonna spend one more night alone. And somebody said, don't let it go to your head, no, no. Don't let those feelings show. But deep down inside, it can't be denied. I'm gonna spend one more night alone. You found somebody new. It's true. Now ain't you lonely too? Lord, I miss being with Enough has been said. You can't get blood from a stone. So I try to hide all those feelings inside. I wanna spend one more night alone. One more night, don't wanna spend one more night, don't wanna spend one more night alone. But tonight I'll stay alone. Oh, thank you, Carl, for recording that. Wow, I'm telling you, when I heard the final production for the first time on my Walkman, it about took the top of my head off. I'm not kidding you. You should check out that recording if you can. It's very powerful. Anyway, may I say, this has been a pleasure being with you tonight. I gotta kind of wind it on down here, but I want to thank you so much for letting me into your home for a little while and spending some time with me. And I'm going to keep doing these if you like, and if you want to continue helping support this show, hit that PayPal button, and a portion of the proceeds will definitely go to MusiCares, helping musicians everywhere. Now, I like to close with this song right here. As I always like to end on an upbeat note, and I wish you all great things and positivity. Positivity in every way. Positivity is what I need. Positivity, yes indeed. Positivity throughout the day. Positivity, that's what I say. Positivity is my friend. Positivity through thick and thin. Positivity is good for my soul. Positivity for young and old. Positivity for everyone. Positivity, we've just begun. All right, everybody. I love you. Stay positive, and I hope to see you again next week. Good night.